Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today is part two of a two-part series that I started a few days ago. Wanted to carry out or just put more into context what the first part of the video, uh, first part of this video series, what the topic was, and wanted to just go a little bit further in discussing the main person who I'm talking about in today's video, of Fred Nicácio. Again, he's a doctor, and he really gained fame from participating on Big Brother Brazil. I think edition 23. He was one of the most talked about participants, on the show. Some argue that Fred, along with a few other people, should be considered some of the most influential Black participants in the history of Big Brother Brazil. It's in its 24th season. And as usual, there's always some fireworks going on that show. I haven't even really gotten into what's happened on Big Brother Brazil 24 up until this point, but I'm definitely going to, because there's been plenty of, like I said, I'm not a big fan of reality programs, but I pay attention to Big Brother Brazil because it puts right there on television in front of everybody to see just some of the everyday discussions that Brazilians have. If you believe Brazil is one way or another, and you don't want to believe some aspects of what people say exist in the country, just check out Big Brother Brazil for a little while. You'll see everything come out. You see, social class issues. You see definitely issues of race, issues of racial intolerance, religious intolerance, what they'll call religious racism. A whole lot of this stuff just comes out. And it's just, it's not that I'm picking on Brazil. It just says Brazil is just like any other country. These things exist. So why deny it? If you don't believe it, like I said, the question of race for Brazil was long. When you go back to the 80s and 90s, it was kind of like stuck in just academia. You had a lot of anthropologists that were talking about racial issues in Brazil, historians, but with the onset of social networks, this stuff is like right there in your face. It's like, why ignore it? It's there. The only reason I'll talk about Big Brother Brazil is because some of the fireworks that happen on this show, they have something to do with race, as that's what my main focus and topic is on the blog, as well as this YouTube channel. So this is part two today of a story I started a few days ago with him. Everything is about race, and he's married to a white man. Ex Big Brother Brazil contestants criticize gay Black militant. And again, the guy's name that I'm talking about today is Fred Nicácio. Um, Definitely check out part one, so you can get a little bit more background. I introduced Fred Nicácio on the previous episode. So today I'm going to carry on with some of I can't sit here, and I wouldn't, I would have to take up maybe an hour and a half in order to talk about everything that Fred was involved in. But I'm going to just, you know, piecemeal, just pick out a few things here and there so you can get a full idea uh, of perhaps why a personality like Fred was so divisive among, viewers. So I want to pick up for part two. Definitely check out part one so you can feel caught up with where I'm going to go with today's episode. Okay, so again, ex Big Brother Brazil contestants criticize Black gay militant. With him, everything is about race, and his husband is white. Okay, this is the couple from Big Brother Brazil. They just had an interview with a very popular podcast on YouTube where they were talking about Fred Nicácio, this guy right here. As far as I know, Fred has not responded to what they said. This is Fred with his partner, his husband. He's called marido, which means husband. This is a clip or a still from the criticism from Gustavo and Lais, and they're talking about Fred. Like, they're kind of suggesting, like, how can you be such a Black militant and, you're married to a white guy? Okay. This is a couple again. So this is Fred Nicácio, who I introduced in the last video. Fred appeared on Queer Eye Brazil a few years ago. This was when he started appearing on Big Brother Brazil, the 23rd season. Again, we talked about the rise of Black Brazilians larger percentages of Black Brazilians on a Big Brother reality show. It was this was something people complained about for a number of years. But going back to, season 20, 21, 22, 23, and now 24, you've seen a number of Black contestants, participants on this show. I think it was 2021 that the last Black person won on the program. That was this woman right here, Thelma Assis. Another memorable personality on the show was the actor Babu Santana. There's a whole story behind him as well. This is Fred with another one of the Black cast, or we'll say participants on Big Brother Brazil 23. This is Cesar Black. Okay, Fred felt like he experienced religious intolerance. I had a two-part series on that a couple of weeks ago, just talking about how Brazilian society treats people who follow African-oriented religions. Okay, so I want to get into part two today. I'm talking about Fred, the militant, the organizer, the leader. I want to talk about the role of Big Brother Brazil in the rise of Black pride and unity in Brazil. Three is Black love, pro-Black interracial unions. This is all going to come out in this episode, in this part two of this two-part series. So a little into the Big Brother Brazil 23rd season, it became apparent that Fred would be a participant that viewers wanted to see eliminated for a number of reasons. The many arguments in which Fred was involved in were among the main reasons that ended up making the doctor the target of the house. Fred was often seen as being egocentric, and his Big Brother Brazil colleagues saw this as a reason that they felt unable to talk to him. These attitudes attributed to Fred being placed in the role of villain for many viewers. I want to talk about a little bit about Paula Freitas. I did a video about her probably a couple of months ago, and this is a good time to bring that video back just to contextualize it. Be that as it may, how people felt about Fred, he was responsible for leaving an impression on both the viewers and the participants. When Fred called for a meeting with the Black participants on the program, the moment actually helped one of the women in the house, Paula Freitas, to come to see herself as a Black woman, which I discussed in a previous video. She actually said that, it may be unbelievable, but I just realized I was Black right now at this moment just because Fred and other Black participants pulled her into that meeting. We need to have an all-Black meeting here so we can discuss some things. And it was the first time that it struck her. And, a lot of Black Brazilians go through this, or we'll say Afro descendants, or even Pardos, meaning brown or mixed race people, who for years never saw themselves as Black. And it takes a moment where they experience racism or somebody invites them into some type of Black circle that they come, oh, wow, maybe I am Black, right? A lot of people go through this. So it was, I guess it was a watershed moment for her. I would love to follow up with her to see where she is in terms of how she sees herself as a Black woman now. This was also the case of one of the Black males on the program, Ricardo Camargo, also known as Alface. Alface means lettuce. I don't know where he gets that nickname from, but he would later acknowledge that before being on the program, he didn't see himself as a Black man. This is a story I did a couple of months ago as well. And, Alface, I never saw myself as a Black man. I'm just, with some people, I can understand that because they have a more of a mixed look or whatever. But I don't see how this guy did not see himself as a Black man. And this is something that I'll never get tired of, talking about because it's intriguing to me. This is one of the things that, I got fascinated about Brazil and learning about this. Of course, I would say that Alface is not the darkest crayon in the box, but I'm saying to me, this guy is clearly Black. Maybe he knew he was Black, but a lot of people will look at themselves in the mirror and know that they're Black, but because of the stigma associated with Blackness, they'll call themselves Moreno or something like that. Then you have Tina Calamba. Tina Calamba participated on Big Brother Brazil. She is an Angolan woman who, I guess, I don't know how long she's been living in Brazil, but she was chosen to participate in the 23rd edition. Two other moments that caught my eye concerning Fred was when the Angolan woman Tina was eliminated. Upon her exit, Fred was seen putting his hand under her chin to lift her head up. The other will probably be a memorable moment for many Black Brazilians for some time, as Nicácio organized a photo with all of the Black participants on the program for a group photo. The moment was shared and liked by perhaps millions of people on social networks. This is the you can't really post videos from Big Brother Brazil without getting some type of copyright strike. So I just did a still. Tina was exiting the place, and Fred was like, keep your head up. Fred Nicácio consoles Tina Calamba on Big Brother Brazil 23. The other thing I got to point out is that the picture that Fred organized, he got all of the black participants. It was like, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 9 people together for a group photo. It was the first time I had ever seen that on Big Brother Brazil. That picture went viral. People shared that video. I mean, on Instagram, you can share stuff like that. And I saw that just countless people. It seemed like everybody posted that clip. It was a really inspirational moment for black Brazilians. But people who saw the picture or Brazilians often like to have this idea like we don't have these racial problems and you're doing like that's racial division. But the problem I have with that argument is that so many times, if you follow Brazil for any amount of time, it's always striking that when you see black people get together, you see that as being racially divisive. But there's been so many times in the past where you see events, you see companies, the leadership of different companies or whatever it might be, and you'll just see all white people there. And it's like, why is it that when you see all black people together, you see it almost as a threat and you call it divisive? But then when you see a group of black people get together, for some reason that's offensive. It's like, why is that? How do you consider that to be divisive? When you see areas or companies or anything that happens in Brazil and the picture is all white, nobody has a problem with that. It's not until black Brazilians started speaking up, like, look, we deserve to be there as well, that, all of a sudden it becomes a problem. I mean, there was a picture that came up. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I think it was an investment company. I think it was called XP. I got to look this up. And the picture was criticized online on social networks because, I mean, I don't know, it was about 50, 75, maybe 100 people in that picture. And of course, you can't see everybody all the way back to the back line. But as far as you saw in that picture, it looked like all white men. Maybe if there's probably white women in the picture too. But it was just the whole picture just looked like it was only white people in that picture. And so that picture was highly criticized to the point that the company had to start responding to what they say, the lack of diversity in that picture. We've seen it when Michelle Temer took over as president after Dilma Rousseff, the country's first black president, first female president, took office, and she was, actually they took her out. It was some people say it was a coup d'etat. They looked at it as a coup, but it was just she was impeached. And until they had another election, her vice president took over. His name was Michelle Temer, and people looked at the picture of his cabinet. It was just like all white men. We see this all the time. Black people talk about going to chic restaurants and being the only black couple there. So it's like time and time again, you see all white settings and there's no problem there. But as soon as black people get together, it's like, oh, you're being divisive. It seems to me that as long as nobody says anything, it's fine. If Fred maybe would have gotten that picture together and hadn't said anything about all black, maybe nobody would have said anything. I'm not sure. But the fact is that he took the time to organize this picture and people saw it, I don't know, as threatening or being divisive. Some people even called it reverse racism, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was a popular talk show host in Brazil called it reverse racism. And other people echoed in and supported what she said. She had to come back and apologize for that. It's just a question, okay, why is that seen as divisive? Why is that seen as reverse racism when you have so many settings that are all white and nobody has a problem with that? Anyway, keeping this moving. Fred developed relationships with a lot of different people on this program. This is him kissing Tina on the forehead. And eventually Fred would be eliminated himself. And after being eliminated, Nicácio, as he did on the program, spoke on the issue of structural racism on the program. Nicácio also expressed his desire to see a Big Brother Brazil season with only black participants, or that the 3 finalists of the 23rd edition were not white. He says, never has a black man won on Big Brother Brazil, he said. A couple of things just to point out here. Fred talked about what he saw as structural racism on Big Brother Brazil. Now, this was a headline from, I can't even see the date, but it says, Fred says he doesn't expect to stay on, the Big Brother Brazil house for very long because he felt like he was just surrounded by racists, from side to side. He's like, I don't know how long I'm going to, or matter of fact, Tina said this, I don't know how long we're going to be here. And then Fred said, where was it? He says, I'm at the side of these racists. I sleep at the side of these racists. I look in the face of these racists. It's like he's saying, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to last here. because he just felt like he was surrounded by racists from side to side. Now, some people might think he's taking that out of proportion. He's blowing this up for something that it's not. But can we say that? I mean, we can never know how all people think. I'm never a person to say that all white people are racist. I would never say something like that. But at the same time, we also can't dismiss people who have certain racist sentiments. And whatever happened in that house, obviously he had reason for whatever he might have said. I can't speak for Fred Nicácio. But then he says, never has a black man won on Big Brother Brazil. Now, this is intriguing because, once again, the question is going to come up about this guy, Jean Willis. Now, I saw people on this channel discussing Jean Willis. I forgot. I think he won maybe season 5 or something. It was one of the earlier seasons. And somebody commented, like, who's going to look at him as a black guy? And I'm going to say some people do. Some people don't. Some people just list him as a pardo. I can't see Jean Willis being a white man, even in Brazil. He does not look like a white man. You can obviously see, whether you call him black or you don't, I would say he is of African ancestry. But then we get to the point where people say that, I think in seasons 22 and 23, maybe somewhere between 21 and 23, where they were saying, okay, can we have a more obvious looking black winner on the program? Because John Willis doesn't strike you as a clearly black man. He looks like a man who's of African ancestry, but he's a very much of a mixed man. Let me see, what else can we say? Okay, so this harks back to another article and another person from Big Brother Brazil. This is from number 18. One of the contestants named Nayada. She inserts the racial discussion on Big Brother 18, where she said she wanted to see a black guy win on Big Brother Brazil. She said, we've never seen a black winner on Big Brother Brazil. And at that point, they had seen there were several women who had won on the program already. At that time, see, the babysitter Cida. Then you had the nursing assistant Mata in the 6th season. Okay, Cida was from the 4th season. They can be considered black women, or some people might call them morenas, as we've always heard that term. And then you have here Jean Willis, who I was just talking about. The winner of Big Brother Brazil 5 is an Afro-descendente, or he's an African descendant. So you can dismiss if you like. There's some people see Jean Willis as black, other people don't. I'm saying, okay, some people say, well, let's just drop it and call him an Afro-descendant, right? Okay, fair enough. But we will say we've never seen a clearly, indisputably black man win on Big Brother Brazil. And that's what Fred said. Never has a black man won on Big Brother Brazil. Upon hearing Fred's comments, another black male on the reality show, Alface, rejected Fred's wishes. Alface says, when he said that there will only be blacks, he wants to remove the whites. I didn't like that. He wants whites to leave and only have blacks. It's a form of exclusion, said Alface at the time. Upon hearing Alface's criticism, Fred responded saying, Ricardo is a poorly literate black man racially. Not everyone who has a speaking place knows what they are saying. This is the fault of a system that prevents information from reading him or reaching him. I'm not here to maintain a privilege of whiteness. I am about to remove it, said Fred. Now, again, we're talking about this guy, Alface. Okay. So what Fred is saying is that, and what he knows about Alface, he's not very racially conscious. And as Alface admitted after he left the show that he never saw himself as a black man. So perhaps that's, might be influencing how he looked at this whole thing. If again, this is another one of those things. Okay, if it's unspoken, would it be okay? Would people have a problem with it? Fred openly said, I want to see a podium, a black podium. I want to see the 3 finalists being black. And the question again is, in the history of Big Brother Brazil, you haven't seen all 3 finalists at the end being black. Okay. But there was never any issue when you had all 3 finalists constantly being white. So is it a question of Fred actually putting that out as that's what he wants to see? Or would people have a problem with it if he said nothing and you had 3 black finalists? It's something to be questioned, because this is something that I've come to my own conclusion about Brazil also. Is like, something can continue to go on as long as nobody points it out. Once somebody points it out, then it becomes a problem. So Fred saying this and openly saying this becomes a problem. Anyway, let me see. Fred would continue his militancy dividing opinions by stating that he wants only black people in the finale of the program. I want this whole house in black, guys, all of it black. The whole thing, the whole thing. I don't want any whites in here. I don't want it. I want the big Preto Brasil house, said Nicácio. So he's saying big black Brazil. That's what he's saying. Doubling down on his comments, Nicácio continued. Never in 23 editions did we have a podium with only black finalists. Never has a black man won an edition. It would be amazing if there was an all black Big Brother Brazil. After finally being eliminated from the 23rd edition, Fred expressed himself to say his desire is to see other participants such as Domitila Barros, Sada Alini, and Cesar Black as finalists. I root for Domi. Okay, Domitila. Domitila is an interesting case in her own right. She was actually crowned Miss Germany. I think it was maybe a couple of years ago. It was the first time in German history that first of all, a Brazilian, and some would argue a black woman. Some people don't see her as black. She kind of reminds me somewhat of Alicia Keys, light-skinned woman, but she won the Miss Germany competition some years ago. So she has her own story as well. So I root for Domi first and then for Sada, both being in the final. I'm already extremely happy. Oh, and Black, Cesar. He is amazing, and it would be incredible to see a black podium, yes, because this is historical reparation. And those who didn't understand this, go study. If I could, I would like to see Domi, Sada, and Black in the final. It would be a personal accomplishment to see such a podium, he said in a statement. This is Fred talking again. So needless to say, Fred Nicácio caused quite a stir during his participation on the Big Brother Brazil program, but considering his pro-black stances, does this make him a hypocrite due to being in an interracial relationship, as former participants Gustavo and Laís seem to suggest? Remember, Gustavo and Laís were the two former BBB participants who said, with Fred, everything is about race. I don't even like talking to him, and then he also has a white husband, almost to ask, like, what's up with that? How you going to be such a militant and have a white husband? Fred actually talked about this previously. He was having a conversation with Tina. Fred Nicácio affirms he has suffered attacks because of being in an interracial relationship. He spoke on this, how people, with the rise of black identity politics, a lot of black Brazilians have expressed problems with seeing so many black people in interracial relationships. Talking to the Angolan participant Tina, Fred asked, "Do you realize that I've been attacked a lot for having an interracial relationship?" He said, adding that he is a promoter of amor preto, meaning black love. You have to love yourself because that was almost forbidden. It wasn't encouraged, he concluded. Fred is talking about historically, Brazil has not allowed black people to love each other. Brazil has indoctrinated the entire black population for hundreds of years to despise being black, to deny being black. You should want to mix until your offspring are all white. So he has a strong point there. But people would ask the question. He talks about amor preto, which I've talked about, on this channel and on the blog numerous times. Not only black love as in self-love of black people, but also amor preto between black men and black women. And so some people will see this as a contradiction to say, well, Fred, for all the militancy and pro-black stances that you had on that show, organizing black people, picking black people up when they might have been down, inviting people who didn't see themselves as black into the black circle so that they could become black. You did a lot of that on the show. And then a lot of people looked at that. Well, how can you be this pro-black and in your relationship, you're with a white guy? That's the question. This is not a question that's going to go away. Whether we're talking about how Umar Johnson looks at it in the United States, it is a topic. It is something that's worth discussing. But I have to say this. What I've noticed with the Big Brother Brazil franchise in terms of the black participants, it's funny because in my view, what I've seen over the years is that Big Brother Brazil has a sort of, it has a way of organizing black Brazilians because so many people are watching this program. And with more and more people cheering to see more black contestants, more black winners on the show, this is almost like organizing a certain type of consciousness throughout the country. And as I said, with the rise of social networks, the demand, the affirmative action policies that have allowed more black Brazilians into universities and colleges, then you have Big Brother Brazil. It sounds ridiculous that we could look at a reality show and say it has an influence on how Black people see themselves in Brazil, but it's very highly, it's very possible. From Delma Assis winning in, I think, the 21st edition, you had this guy, Babu Santana. Let me see if I think I had Babu up in here. Some Babu Santana, this guy, he brought a lot to the show as well. I remember when these two white girls were making a joke about the pick that he had in his hair. Like, how do you use that for your hair? And again, it's because in Brazil, you're taught that the standard should be straight hair, right? Babu gave a couple of, he gave a couple of lessons on that program about race. So this is being nationally televised, and all Brazilians are watching this program. So when you bring Black identity politics into it, it can actually give a very powerful educational tool, organizing tool for Black Brazilians who have for years have been denied they have been denied, like almost placed in second class citizenship status in Brazil. So when you have people who have like racial politics and bringing it to the fore, what is the influence on the Black population as a whole? And I have to say, people can look at Fred Nicácio and say, well, he's a hypocrite. How can you be pro-Black and you're married to this white guy? But the question is, which side weighs more? For the stances that he took on that program, can it say, okay, Fred may have fallen in love with the person that he fell in love with? Because I see that a lot. I mean, sometimes you're not going to help who you fall in love with. I definitely understand that. But on the flip side, when you look at the past and you look at the current pattern of relationships among Black Brazilians, you have to ask yourself, is it possible that Fred himself has some inner hatred that says, well, I'm going to talk as Black as I can. I can be Black. I love being Black, but I still want to have a white man. I don't know. That's not for me to say. I've never seen an interview where Fred went deep into that topic. I'm curious to know how he sees that, as with any other, what we'll call a Black activist who has a white partner at their side. Just, what do you guys think about this topic? A couple of things I wanted to point out before I end the video. This goes into what I was saying in a article some years ago from 2014 when I was talking about why it seems Black soccer players who denounce racism always seem to have white wives. Now, what was intriguing about this particular story was that there was a guy who did a post on Facebook. And okay, this is not the particular article that I was talking about. That's in another one. Let me check this out. I'm not racist. I've already been with a Black guy. So this is the story that I did in 2014. Also, a girl was caught calling a Black goalie at a soccer game. She got caught calling him a monkey on television, and they run her through the ringer for that. She lost her job. She was trying to defend herself publicly. There was a guy who created a Facebook group in support of her, saying that, you Black people are highly hypocritical. And one of the posts that the guy created says, we support Patricia Moreira against the hypocrisy of the politically correct. And then in one of the posts, a montage shows soccer players like Neymar, Pele, Chinga, and Robinho, all accompanied by blonde women, in order to criticize the hypocrisy of Black pride. So what I'm saying is, this is a white guy who wrote this, and it's also Black people. There's a lot of Black Brazilians who see this way. It's like they see it as a hypocrisy. It'd be one thing, it's just a couple of guys married across the race line, but all of these multi-million-dollar Black athletes in Brazil, they all seem to marry white women. So this comes up again when we're talking about Fred Nicácio. Does that make him a hypocrite? We see racism in Brazil's LGBT community. 11 Black men share stories. Question being, if we have racism in the LGBT community, and Black men often talk about the loneliness of the Black gay male, why is it that Black gay males are not getting together? That would be another question. Interracial relationships in the LGBT, discovering racism within the LGBT community in Brazil. So that backs up the other questions that I just asked. Yes, Black women too are down with the swirl. Black lesbians reveal frustrations of being passed over for white women. This is what a lot of Black Brazilian lesbians are saying. After all of this stuff where people are calling Black men palmiteiros for preferring white women, and then within the lesbian community, within the LGBT community of Black women, you would think that Black women would naturally get together, but then you see this Black lesbian saying, you're passing me over for white women. So how do you call out black men for doing the same thing when then, black lesbians seem to do the also seem to have the same idea that I want to have a white woman at my side. So anyway, I'm going to end this video here today. Really intriguing, the story of Fred Nicácio. It might be a divisive figure for many people, but he definitely caused a stir on last season's Big Brother Brazil. So I'm curious to know what you thought about this. What is your take on the question? Can you be pro-black and have a white person at your side, pro-black, or any other person that's not black at your side and still be considered pro-black? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to this channel, like this video. Consider clicking on the notification bell so that you know when I put up my next video. Check out part 1 of this first. And with that said, I'm going to end this video now and request that you all come back and check out the next video that I post.